Now, the Real Madrid boss, Carlo Ancelotti, has dismissed Pep Guardiola's claim that Manchester City have just a 1% chance of progressing from the second leg of their Champions League playoff tomorrow night. Madrid scored 2 late goals in Manchester last week to take a 3-2 lead into the game at the Bernabeu.
De verdad, él no lo piensa. Mañana le voy a preguntar.
I'll ask him tomorrow before the game. I'll ask him, do you really think that you have just 1%? Of course, he thinks that he has more possibilities. And we don't think that we have 99% of possibilities. We think that we have a small advantage. That we have to take advantage of. And we'll try to play the same game that we played on the first leg. And things worked out really well there.
Right, Ben Ransom was at Ancelotti's news conference and he joins us now. Hello, Ben. Seemed like quite an interesting presser, that. He was also asked, Ancelotti, about a certain Jude Bellingham and officiating. And what did he have to say?
Yeah, it became the story of the press conference, really. It's clearly the story that is swirling around Real Madrid right at the moment, this relationship they have with referees, with La Liga, with the authorities here in Spain. It's something that I guess was brought into sharp focus for our media once Jude Bellingham was sent off at the weekend. Now, he was sent off for foul and abusive language in the direction of a match official. Now, that carries with it, would you believe, a punishment of up to a 12-match ban. Now, Bellingham himself has since come out on social media and said, look, this was a misunderstanding. I think there's a feeling within the Real Madrid that they can explain away what was said and explain the fact it wasn't necessarily directed at the match official. But it follows on from a wider focus, a wider story around this relationship that goes back to last month when there was a game between Real Madrid and Espanyol. Now, in that game, Espanyol won 1-0. The goal scorer, Carlos Romero, scored late on to give them the victory. But Real Madrid felt he should have been sent off earlier in the match due to a bad tackle on Kylian Mbappe. They were upset with the official's decision, both on the pitch and also in VAR as well. They followed that by writing a letter to the Spanish authorities, essentially just calling into question the integrity of the referees in La Liga. Since then, we've had Javier Tebas, the head of La Liga, hit back at Real Madrid. We've had a match, the subsequent match in La Liga, which Real drew 1-1 with Atletico Madrid, brought up a penalty for Atleti, which got them back in the match. Carlo Ancelotti referenced that as well today in terms of a VAR decision. He says that in recent games there have been many decisions which they simply don't understand. And it was really interesting, actually. The final question of the press conference in its entirety was whether he felt, Carlo Ancelotti, the letter to the authorities in Spain was actually having a negative effect, was actually leading to even more decisions going against Real Madrid. They've obviously not won since that Espanyol game. They've now been knocked off the top of La Liga. He said he didn't want to talk about it at that point and left, but so much of the focus was on that particular relationship. And I guess from Carlo Ancelotti and Real Madrid's point of view, I think they're quite happy that the glare of the media eye will be Europe-wide. It will be a European referee in the Champions League. And Ancelotti didn't hold back in suggesting actually that was better because he felt the standard of refereeing is better in Europe, in the Champions League, than it is here domestically in Spain.
How about Real's team news then heading into this second leg? Because they actually had a very understrength defence, didn't they, in that first leg, which made the result all the more impressive. Might their 11 look a little bit different tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think offensively it'll look pretty much the same because Jude Bellingham, despite the red card in La Liga at the weekend, can obviously play in this game tomorrow night. He scored the winner in that 3-2 win at the Etihad. But you're right, defensively, a lot of the focus before the first leg was about how they were going to get through that match with a patched-up defence, a match that clearly Erling Haaland enjoyed, scoring twice. But ultimately, they've got a few of their big names back. They were without many of their experienced defenders. But Antonio Rudiger and David Alaba were both out training today. We saw them both taking part in the first 15 minutes. I say 15 minutes. It was more like 12 minutes today, if I'm honest, of those two players running around on the pitch and that early part. And actually, Ancelotti backed that up in the press conference and said that Rudiger is ready to start if required. There was also some hope that maybe Lucas Vazquez, the fullback, might be able to come back in as well. But Ancelotti suggested maybe tomorrow's game is a bit too soon for him, even though he's at the latter stages of his recovery. So they are still light at fullback, but certainly when it comes to Rudiger coming back to the heart of that defence, remember how integral he was to them beating Manchester City, particularly in that second leg at the Etihad a year ago. He could be a really crucial player to bring back in tomorrow night.